You know that physical sensation, right? Like weird tightening in your chest?
Oh, yeah. Like when you're late for something.
Yeah, but specifically when you are staring at a progress bar on your screen,
Oh, the worst.
it's sitting right there at like 99%. And the deadline for your project was literally 5 minutes ago.
And it just freezes.
It just stops, the little wheel is spinning, and you are just watching it spin. And your brain is screaming for that resolution, right? The one that was promised, but absolutely nothing is happening.
Yeah, I mean, that is a completely universal modern anxiety. It really is. We are biologically wired to anticipate that dopamine hit of completion.
Right.
So when a system denies us that instant resolution, we don't just feel annoyed. We actually experience a measurable spike in cortisol.
Really, like a physical stress response.
Exactly. The frustration is super visceral because your brain perceives the delay as a failure of the environment to meet your processing speed.
Wow. And, that exact tension, that friction between how fast you want to go and how slow the world is forcing you to move, well, that is the beating heart of the children's book we are analyzing today.
It's such a great text for this.
It is. So we are skipping the usual podcast pleasantries today because our mission is to tear down what looks like a simple story about animals.
Right.
And we're going to reveal a highly structured, masterclass in educational mechanics, cognitive diversity, and group dynamics. We are doing a deep dive into a story from the Mission Monkeys series. It's called Sandy Slowspell and the Jungle Spelling Festival.
Yeah, and the setup gives us the core conflict almost immediately.
It really doesn't waste any time.
Not at all. We find ourselves in this lush green environment called Lazy Leaf Lagoon, and we meet Sandy Slowspell.
Who is a sloth?
A sloth, exactly. And she possesses this really deep love for spelling. But, the narrative doesn't shy away from establishing the physical reality of her existence.
No, it leans right into it.
It does. Sandy operates at a cognitive and physical processing speed that is just drastically different from her peers. I mean, she takes 3 entire minutes just to sound out C-A-T.
Sit with that metric for a second. 3 whole minutes.
It's an eternity in conversation.
It is. If you are having a conversation with a colleague, right, and they take 3 minutes to finish a 3-letter word, the social contract of that conversation just completely breaks down.
Oh, absolutely.
It's excruciating for the listener. But that is Sandy's baseline reality. And the stakes are raised because, well, today is the day of the Jungle Spelling Festival.
Right, and Sandy is the star contestant.
Yes, she's the star. But then disaster strikes. A glowing scroll drops from a shaking vine and it says Mission Alert.
The dreaded mission alert.
Yep. All the spelling words for the festival have been scrambled.
So this inciting incident, it essentially forces a collision of different operating systems. Because the characters tasked with helping Sandy are the mission monkeys.
Mick, Mila, Mia, and Milo.
Right. So you have a sloth, a creature entirely defined by methodical, energy-conserving slowness.
Yeah.
Paired with monkeys, who are, biologically erratic, fast-twitch, highly reactive processors.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the very first interaction we see right after Sandy takes those 3 minutes to spell cat is from Mick the monkey.
Oh, Mick.
Yeah. He blinks and he just goes, "We might grow beards," before she finishes the sentence.
It's pretty harsh.
It is. And my immediate reaction was to laugh. But Mick isn't just a cartoon antagonist here, is he? He represents a very relatable frustration for you, the person listening to this. Like, think about being in a boardroom, the deadline is looming, and a team member is taking 10 minutes to explain a concept you grasped in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Mick is basically the embodiment of that spinning progress bar we talked about.
What's fascinating here is that the narrative bypasses the easy route of making Mick a villain.
Right. He's not evil. He's just stressed.
Exactly. He is experiencing genuine cognitive friction. When a fast processor is tethered to a slow processor in a high-stakes environment, that discrepancy creates actual literal distress.
Because he sees the clock ticking?
He sees the timeline of the impending festival, and Sandy's pace genuinely threatens that goal. But the text provides a really nice counterweight to Mick's anxiety.
Through Mila.
Right. Mila's reaction to the mission alert is totally different. She smiles and she establishes a boundary. She says, let's take it slow, but not that slow.
That addition, not that slow, is such a crucial piece of dialogue.
It really is.
Because she isn't coddling Sandy, right? She is acknowledging the external reality of the festival's timeline. It's empathetic, sure, but it is highly practical.
Yeah, she is attempting to synchronize their clocks, in a way.
Oh, I like that.
Meal is trying to find the median frequency between the sloth's biological limit and the monkey's frantic urgency.
Right.
And that establishes the real stakes of this deep dive. Fixing the scrambled words on the vines, I mean, that's just the mechanical plot.
Right, the A story.
Exactly. The actual tension is whether this group can synthesize their conflicting cognitive speeds to achieve a shared goal, without tearing each other apart.
Without growing beards first.
Right, exactly.
Well, the jungle immediately tests that synthesis. They run into their first two clues almost right away.
The vines, yeah.
Yeah, clue 1 is a set of letters hanging from the vines, T, A, C. And Mia spots the error, and Sandy very slowly whispers the target word, cat.
Because she already practiced it.
Exactly. So they rearrange the letters from T-A-C to C-A-T. And Sandy smiles, this proud little smile, and says, I knew that!
Which is a great moment of competence for her.
It is. And then they immediately hit clue 2. They find these giant leaves with missing letters. So it's D blank G and F blank X.
Right.
Mink realizes the target words are dog and fox, and then Mia suggests filling in the missing vowels, so they add the letter O to both.
And then the magic happens.
Yeah, the leaves suddenly sparkle and turn into a literal leafy pathway for the characters to walk on.
It's a very striking visual. And, if you look at the source material, it actually includes a lesson for kids checklist at the very end.
Oh, right, the explicit teaching moments.
Yeah. It explicitly states that spelling requires sounding out and arranging letters correctly. And that's followed by the rule that vowels help complete words.
Okay, so it spells it out for the reader. Pun intended.
Good one. But looking at the puzzles themselves, the anagram requires working memory, right?
Right, holding the letters in your head.
Holding the symbols T, A, and C in your mind and manipulating their sequence until they form a recognizable pattern.
See, here's where it gets really interesting for me. I was looking at these two puzzles back to back, and I found myself pushing back on how simple it seems on the surface.
How do you mean?
Well, why an anagram followed by a missing vowel puzzle? It feels like we are looking at the raw mechanics of how the brain learns to build systems.
Okay, go on.
Think about it like teaching someone to build a car. First, you hand them a pile of scrambled, disconnected parts. That's the anagram, the T-A-C. You have to know what parts you have and what sequence they go in to build the chassis. But, I mean, a pile of parts in the right order doesn't do anything on its own.
No, it's just a metal box.
Exactly. You have to give it the engine, the spark that makes it actually run. And in language, that is the vowel.
That's a really compelling analogy.
Mm-hmm.
A car analogy works perfectly for the rigid structural aspect of consonants, but language is also, organic.
Right.
So vowels are almost more like the breath in a biological system. Consonants are the bones.
Oh, I love that. The bones of the word.
Yeah, they provide the hard stops in the shape. But vowels give the word its acoustic carrying power. They allow the airflow that makes the word pronounceable at all.
Because you can't actually speak without them.
You really can't.
Mm-hmm.
And when the monkeys add the O to the giant leaves, the physical environment literally transforms into a leafy pathway.
It builds the road.
Yes, it is a tangible metaphor for neural pathway formation. Mastering these fundamental mechanics, the sequence of the bones and the breath of the vowels, it literally builds the cognitive road forward.
You have to have both.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You cannot access higher level complexity, like the festival itself, without first laying down that basic circuitry.
And the mechanics literally unlock the environment, because that leafy pathway leads them directly to the climax of the story. They arrive at the festival stage.
The big moment.
The big moment. And there's this huge flashing sign that presents Challenge 3. It says, spell the word to win. And the target word is B-A-N-A-N-A.
Banana.
Banana. So Sandy steps up as the star contestant. She takes a deep breath, and she manages to say B.
And then there's a pause.
A huge pause. The text notes that everyone just waits. And then finally she slowly says A.
And that's when Mike breaks.
He just shatters. He groans, drops his head, and whispers, we'll be here all day.
Yeah, he regresses under the pressure of the final challenge.
Totally.
The stakes are at their absolute highest, and his tolerance for Sandy's processing speed hits its biological limit.
He just can't take it anymore.
No, and it is a very human reaction to stress. I mean, we often abandon our learned patience and revert to our baseline impulses when the pressure spikes like that.
Right. But then Mila steps in to pivot the group. She smiles gently, And she changes the entire approach. She says, let's help her out. We can say it together.
The crucial pivot.
Yes. And the monkeys start clapping, and they spell the word out loud in unison. B-A-N-A-N-A. Sandy beams, and she triumphantly shouts the completed word, banana.
And the crowd goes wild.
The crowd cheers loudly, and they win. But, reading this, I had to stop and ask a fundamental question.
Which is?
The sign explicitly said, spell the word to win, and Sandy was the registered contestant. So did the monkeys just cheat to bypass the friction of her slow processing?
Right. You were touching on a core debate in collaborative learning environments. Where exactly is the line between supporting a learner and just doing the work for them?
Exactly. Like, think about being at the gym. If you are lifting a heavy weight and you hit that sticking point where your muscles fail and the bar just won't move, a good spotter doesn't yank the bar out of your hands and rack it for you.
Because that ruins the workout.
It robs you of the rep. A good spotter just puts 2 fingers under the bar. They share a fraction of the burden to help you push past the friction, but you are still performing the lift.
That's a great way to look at it.
So in this case, the monkeys didn't spell the word for her. They provided the momentum she was lacking.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you're describing the exact application of scaffolding.
Scaffolding, right.
We all know the concept of providing temporary support to bridge a learning gap. But the specific mechanism the text highlights here is auditory and physical rhythm.
The clapping.
Yes, Mila doesn't just verbally feed Sandy the letters. She initiates clapping, and the text carefully notes they clapped and spelled it with her.
Not for her, but with her.
Exactly. Because for someone with a slower processing speed, the physical act of clapping provides an external metronomic rhythm. It acts as a neurological bridge.
Oh, wow.
It helps Sandy bypass the cognitive bottleneck of retrieving the next letter from her working memory. The rhythm itself carries her forward.
And the physical environment of the jungle fully validates this approach, doesn't it?
It does.
The crowd cheers loudly. They reward the shared effort instead of, penalizing Sandy for requiring an external rhythm to cross the finish line.
The ecosystem values the completed task over the isolation of the individual struggle.
That's a beautiful way to phrase it.
Well, the text final lesson checklist reinforces this too. It states, teamwork makes learning fun and encouraging. Notice it does not say teamwork makes learning faster.
Oh, good catch. Fast isn't the goal.
No. The priority is the psychological safety of the learner. It's about ensuring they remain engaged with the material rather than just shutting down under the pressure of the audience and the ticking clock.
And that psychological safety carries right into the resolution of the story.
The trophy ceremony.
Yeah. The mission is complete, the festival begins, and Sandy Slowspell is awarded the Golden Leaf Trophy. It's a massive public victory for her.
Huge.
But the real emotional payload comes when Sandy looks at her friends and delivers this incredibly self-aware quote of gratitude.
Yeah, this part got me.
She says, "You didn't rush me. You helped me learn at my own pace."
She understands her own biological constraints perfectly.
Right.
She isn't asking to be turned into a monkey. Yeah. She is acknowledging that the support she received was delivered on her terms, completely respecting her inherent nature.
So what does this all mean? To really apply this, we have to look at how the rest of the group reacts to Sandy's gratitude.
Let's do it.
Mia notes that everyone learns differently. Milo, who is ever the pragmatist, adds that practice makes spelling stronger.
Classic Milo.
Classic Milo. But Mick is the one to watch here. Mick, who spent the whole story rolling his eyes and complaining about growing beards, finally grins and admits, and patience makes everything better eventually.
That eventually is doing a lot of heavy lifting.
It really is.
But I love it. Because he still holds on to that realistic friction, which keeps the character honest. He hasn't magically transformed into a perfectly patient Zen being.
No, she's still a monkey.
He's still a monkey. And this raises an important question for you listening to us right now.
Yeah.
When you manage a team at work, or when you are raising children, or even when you are navigating a relationship with a partner who processes information totally differently than you do, how do you handle that friction?
It's hard.
It is. The source text makes its core philosophy very clear. It's okay to learn at your own pace. Patience matters. But the absolute brilliance of this narrative is that it refuses to shame Mick for his frustration.
Right. It doesn't tell the monkey that his anxiety about the ticking clock is invalid.
Exactly. It validates the entire spectrum of the experience. It validates the slow learner who needs the space and time to process.
Like Sandy.
Like Sandy. And it validates the fast processor who feels the very real pressure of external deadlines. Like Mick. The story demonstrates that the friction between different speeds of processing is never resolved by forcing the sloth to sprint.
Which is impossible anyway.
Right. And it is also not resolved by telling the monkey to just ignore the reality of time. The friction evaporates only when Mila stops fighting Sandy's biological pace and joins Mila in clapping with her.
Wow.
When he aligns with her rhythm, the goal is achieved.
We started with a children's book about animals in a jungle, and we are walking away with a highly applicable blueprint for managing cognitive diversity.
It's pretty amazing.
It really is. We looked at the mechanics of building neural pathways, seeing how structural arrangement and the integration of vowels serve as the foundational bones and breadth of literacy.
Right.
We explored how an external rhythm, like clapping, acts as a neurological bridge to help individuals bypass cognitive bottlenecks without robbing them of the effort.
The spotter at the gym.
The spotter at the gym. And most importantly, we saw that navigating drastically different processing speeds requires active, empathetic teamwork.
So, as you reflect on this, consider where you sit in this dynamic in your own daily life.
Are you Sandy?
Right. Are you the methodical, deliberate processor who constantly feels rushed by a world demanding instant output?
Or are you Melitian?
Exactly. Are you the results-driven, impatient engine who feels perpetually bogged down by the slow gears that the people around you?
I think we're all both at different times.
Oh, for sure. We all oscillate between these roles depending on the context and, the stress level of our environment. But regardless of which cognitive speed you default to, the lesson of the Golden Leaf Trophy is that success is rarely achieved in rigid isolation.
It takes a village, or a jungle in this case.
It is won by finding a shared rhythm and offering each other a measure of grace.
It leaves you wondering, though, doesn't it? We've established that Sandy's slow pace is an inherent biological reality of being a sloth.
Yeah.
She isn't doing it on purpose. It is literally how she is built. If that's true, what happens when an entire educational system or a modern corporate ladder is built almost entirely around the natural speed of monkeys?
That's the million-dollar question.
Does true equity in that system just mean the monkeys have to learn to stand around and wait patiently for Sandy to finish?
That doesn't seem sustainable.
No. Or does it mean we need to fundamentally redesign the jungle spelling festival itself so that raw speed isn't the primary metric of success in the first place? Because until we answer that, we're all just going to be sitting there staring at a progress bar that's stuck at 99%, wondering why the world feels like it's buffering.